some people aren't too happy that the Bird Lady, Lyra Valkyria, won the Women's Intercontinental Championship. But the real issue is, why wasn't Lyra Valkyria versus Dakota the main event of Raw on January 13th? This match was very fun, by the way, and both of these women, no matter who won, would have been a great choice to have either one of them win the match. And like I said, it was a fun match. In the early parts of it, Lyra Valkyria, she was in control of it. Then Dakota, she hit this like devastating move, and I don't know what the name of it was. The commentators didn't even say it, so I'm gonna have to try to find the name of that. And then Dakota, she had a sequence of moves towards the end of the match. She hit the GTK, which go to kick or something like that. I don't know what it really stands for. It was a cool move, but Lyra was smart enough to roll out the ring, so that saved her some time. Then they fought for a little bit on the outside, and Lyra hit a cool move on the apron. Then they got back in the ring. Lyra hit the Nightwing, and that was the end of it. Lyra Valkyria ended up winning the Women's Intercontinental Championship, becoming the first Women's Intercontinental Champion. So it was a fun match, back and forth action. It did have, because even though the first and last match didn't have commercials, but my problem is that Chelsea Green versus Mi Chen, it was on a TV special. Obviously, Saturday's night main event. It's not like a weekly TV show. It's a TV special they're going to be doing once a month. So, obviously, it was big enough to be on the TV special on a Saturday, on the first one in a however long it had been. So, they're telling me that Lyra and Dakota, number one, they said the match was pushed back so it didn't get overshadowed on the Raw Netflix debut, which was a lot of promos and not a lot of wrestling on that show, which is why I gave it a 7 out of 10 this week. And this week I gave Raw 8.5 out of 10. I enjoyed this week's Raw. But this not being the main event is absolutely BS and nonsensical. It makes no sense. If the women's U.S. title, you have new women's championships, so you're obviously going to put it on a pedestal. That's why the women's U.S. championship, the match was on Saturday night's main event. As I said earlier, not a weekly TV show, but it's a TV special, so it felt more important putting it on that show. So if you don't want this match to be overshadowed, you don't put it in the middle of the show. And really wasn't even the middle, because it ended 25 minutes early for whatever reason. And I think I figured out that reason, but we'll get to that later in this video. But if this championship is supposed to be so important and have so much value, it either needs to start the show after the opening segment with CM Punk, Seth Rollins, and Drew McIntyre, or it needs to close the show instead of Finn Balor versus Damian Priest, which has been a dragged out feud. Obviously, Penta's debut was amazing. I enjoyed it. I made a short about it. It was a lot of fun. But this match was the most important thing that happened on Raw last night, this Women's Intercontinental Championship match. So you should have had this either be the opening match, so you can crown a new Women's IC Champion, the crowd is hype, or make it your last match, make it the main event match. And you probably get some more time with it. You had 25 minutes left when the show ended. So if that was the main event, it would have made perfect sense because it's a new championship. Finn Balor and Damian Priest, I didn't talk about that in my short, but their match was really fun. I enjoyed it as well. I had no problems with the match. They had a fun street fight. Well, I did have one problem. Where was Dominic at? As much interference as it was in the match, it was kind of fun. It was kind of weird that Dominic didn't get involved, and maybe that's going to lead to the breakup of the Judgment Day. But you got all this interference, and then Dominic just doesn't get involved. And even with all this interference, I was thinking Finn would need to win, and the commentators hyping it up like this is a Game 7, it's tied 3-3. Some of those matches happening like the pandemic era that people forgot about. So that doesn't matter now. All that matters is from the time that they've been in the Judgment Day to now and how that's been going on. But this story's been dragged out way too long. This should have been the match right before the main event, and Lyra and Dakota Kai should have been the main event, because it just made the most sense from a storyline perspective, really from everything. And I think they told a better story during the match than Finn and Damian really did. Like, obviously, Finn and Damian, they're trying to kill each other. But at the end of the day, you had the Judgment Day interfere in the match, had the War Raiders get involved, had a stretcher brought out, which I didn't think was really necessary. Then, like I said earlier, the show was cut by 25 minutes because Penta's debut, it ran longer than it was supposed to. But you got to think, though, the match didn't have any ads. So apparently segments were cut in this stuff. But they said Raw was moving back to 3 hours. So I don't know what happened to that. Penta's match didn't have any ads. And the last match only had one ad with the stretcher, and they brought out the stretcher. Or maybe they just showed a replay and brought out the stretcher, because I don't even think the main event had ads. But the most important match of the night, the Women's Intercontinental Championship match, had ads during it. That doesn't make any sense to me. So how are these women's titles supposed to be valuable and stuff if this is stuff that you're doing? It doesn't really make sense. Both women's U.S. title matches have had interference. This is the first time the title's been introduced, and this is another problem, the amount of interferences that go on in these matches nowadays. Like, obviously you do it sometimes to build a story, but this is a constant theme in every match. Every match has damn near the same ending. It doesn't make sense. It's nonsensical and it's complete BS. Then you have the main event, which it was a lot of fun. A Priest wins and the show just goes off at 9:35. You still have 25 minutes left. You can get in another promo, another match, and some more ads in those 25 minutes that you just didn't do anything with. And wrestlers are mad that Pence's debut went over time. Be mad at management that the show ended after 2.5 hours. It's not his fault, and his promo was really good. He got the spotlight he deserved, but you spoiled it the entire week, so it wasn't even exciting when he came out there, because Triple H wanted to spoil the debut, selling his merchandise 8 hours before the show go on. But at the end of the day, this week's Raw was actually pretty fun. It was an 8.5 out of 10, but the reason my rating wasn't higher is because it didn't make sense that Lyra and Dakota wasn't the main event when it was for a new title being introduced to the women's division. If anything, you could have saved it. Actually, nah, it would have been done to save it for the Saturday night's main event. But it either should have started the show or main evented the show, because Pence's debut could have came right before the main event. That would have been fine, because it was spoiled anyways. So it wasn't like people, and he still got a great pop, but Lyra and Dakota, I feel like they were put in a tough spot because they didn't want them to be overshadowed. But then you make Priest and Finn the main event, and it's on the same episode as Pence's debut, so is the match still not overshadowed? If you really think about it, the match was still overshadowed. Now, obviously, I love the Bird Lady, so I'm glad the Lyra Valkyria got the win. But this match was definitely overshadowed by a street fight to end the show. Because no matter who won, people are going to be excited about a street fight. And then Pence's debut. That's just reality of it. That was completely nonsensical. But leave a like on the video. Subscribe to the channel. Comment what you thought about it. Should this have been the main event? Should it not? Or should it start the show? Peace.